You will see 40, maybe 60 listings, each with a different logo, a different product name, a different promise. Jackery sits next to names you have never heard before. Vuterman, Greasel, Flextail, a dozen others. It looks like a competitive market. It is not. Several of those listings share the same internal hardware, the same cell chemistry, sometimes the same factory floor. Different sticker, same box. This video is a forensic audit of 12 specific brands and listings, and it will show you exactly which clues: model weight, watt-hour capacity, port layout, and circuit board signatures expose the overlap. The danger is not sameness itself. The danger is paying for a brand that disappears in 6 months, voiding any warranty claim you thought you had. Before we call anything a clone, we need to be precise about what that word means here, because loose claims are how this kind of investigation falls apart. The strongest evidence is physical. Identical enclosure geometry, identical port layout, identical placement of the AC outlet, USB-A block, USB-C port, and DC barrel connector. If 2 units share all of that, the case is nearly closed. Supporting that are spec fingerprints, matching watt-hour capacity, identical inverter wattage, same input voltage range, same adapter spec, same screen UI font and menu structure. Manuals matter too. Translation artifacts, shared phrasing, identical safety warnings word for word. Those are factory documents, not coincidental. What does not count on its own? Price similarity, vague shape resemblance, and review count. Those are starting points for suspicion, not conclusions. The audit categories used throughout this video are 8. Enclosure, AC and DC, and USB port layout, watt-hour and inverter claims, adapter specification, certification language, manual translation patterns, seller account history, and warranty presence or absence. One credibility boundary worth stating plainly. Identifying a clone cluster means documenting convergent signals strong enough to flag a white label relationship. It does not mean every unit came from one named factory unless documentation directly supports that. The distinction matters. This is a risk map, not a lawsuit. So here is the first cluster, and it makes a compelling case on its own. Flashfish built its Amazon presence around compact solar generator branding, consistently positioned in the 300-watt class, with compatibility listings that place its units beside a specific group of budget backup products. That compatibility detail is not random. Manufacturers who share physical infrastructure tend to share accessory ecosystems, because the ports are in the same place and the adapter specs are identical. Engine Star follows the same outline almost point for point. The 300-watt inverter rating, the 296 watt-hour capacity, the pure sine wave claim, and the CPAP and emergency use marketing language. That last one matters more than it sounds. Pure sine wave language and medical device compatibility framing are not default choices for a budget unit. Choosing both at the same wattage tier with the same capacity number is a pattern. Marlboro sharpens it further. Listings around 296 watt-hours and 300 watts, with model identifiers like M638SL60 Max, function as a spec fingerprint. The number string is specific enough that its reappearance across product families is difficult to explain as coincidence. Gressel closes the group, and here is where accessories do the talking. Charger compatibility pages for units like the Gressel T300 consistently reference a 15-volt 60-watt adapter ecosystem, the same one appearing across the other 3 brands. Shared adapter specs mean shared input circuitry. Product photos obscure that. Compatibility pages do not. 4 labels. 1 converging specification profile. That is not a trend. That is a template. Now widen the frame. SyncQ enters the picture as a compact station brand, and the first thing worth checking is not its wattage claim but its accessory ecosystem. Shared charger compatibility is the same tell it was with Gressel. When a SyncQ unit accepts the same barrel adapter as units from the previous cluster, that is infrastructure overlap, not coincidence. One caution here: SyncQ spans multiple capacity classes, so comparisons need to be model-specific. The brand name alone is not enough. Pull the exact model number and match it to a spec sheet before drawing conclusions. Tacky is a lighter evidence case, but it belongs in this conversation precisely because of that. Treat any tacky listing as an audit target. Check the enclosure shape against known compact station molds. Check port placement against units already on your radar. Read the manual language, because reused manuals with find and replace brand names are one of the clearest signals in this entire category. Also check seller history. Badge trust on Amazon erodes fast when the seller account is less than a year old. Always tightens the pattern again. The PPS 300 listing sits at 300 watts output and approximately 280 watt-hours of capacity. Barrel charging input. USB CPD at 60 watts. Emergency in camping marketing throughout. That combination of specs and framing has now appeared enough times in this video that you should be finishing the description before the listing does. A King is where the ecosystem evidence gets dense. Compatibility references for a King 300 class units include Zero Core, Baylor-Bat, Paxess, Orlevi, Gressel, and C-Techie in the same accessory documentation. 6 brands sharing one compatibility list. That is not one owner. That is one physical standard being sold under many names. And the accessory pages are the only place the manufacturers forgot to maintain the illusion. So that compatibility list from a King does not stay contained. It bleeds directly into this final cluster. Baylor-Bat sits in the 300 watt, 257 watt-hour range. That capacity figure is specific enough to matter. When you see the same charger barrel referenced across Baylor-Bat and a King documentation, you are not looking at 2 brands that happen to share an accessory. You are looking at 2 products engineered to the same electrical assumptions from the start. Zero Core lands in the same compact budget tier. The R200 style listings use different model naming, but the adapter specifications and the capacity class keep overlapping with units already covered in this video. Model names are cosmetic. The underlying power architecture is where the comparison lives. C-Techie sharpens this further. The GT300 runs at 300 watts output with approximately 299 watt-hours of capacity. That near-identical inverter and capacity pairing has appeared in this video enough times that the number itself is now a fingerprint. When you see it again in a new listing, the correct move is to pull up a side-by-side comparison before reading any further. Paxess closes the cluster and it does something the others do not. Some Paxess listings are older. The brand has cycled through seller identities and review histories on Amazon. The product shell keeps reappearing under adjacent names after the original storefront goes quiet. That is the graveyard effect. The brand dies. The mold does not. A design family can outlive every seller account, every review page, and every brand name attached to it, and simply resurface with new packaging the next quarter. That is the mechanism. 12 brands in, the pattern is not a coincidence. It is a system. That pattern has a name. It is called White Label OEM Supply, and it is the infrastructure that makes the graveyard possible. Here is how it works. A factory in Shenzhen or Guangdong designs a base power station, a complete unit with a battery cell pack, a battery management system, an inverter stage, and a charge controller. That design gets licensed or sold as a blank platform. A seller buys units, applies a logo, picks a color variant, writes new listing copy, photographs it with different accessories, and launches it as an original brand on Amazon. The factory does not change. The engineering does not change. The brand name is the only thing that was ever new. The Amazon loop that follows is mechanical. Launch the brand, run a coupon to accelerate early reviews. Let the listing age, then retire the model name when the review count stagnates or inventory clears. Relaunch with a slightly adjusted capacity figure, a new model number, and a fresh storefront. The number change is not an engineering update. It is a listing reset. What buyers cannot see in polished product photography is everything that actually matters. Battery cell grade, inverter waveform accuracy, BMS, thermal cutoff behavior, and whether safety certifications map to the unit in the box or to a slightly different prototype submitted for testing. The critical distinction is this. A rebrand is not automatically a defective product, but a rebrand with no disclosed engineering lineage and no durable company behind the warranty is a financial bet, not a purchase. When the seller account goes quiet, the warranty goes with it. So now you know why the graveyard exists. Here is how you stop walking into it. Start with the physical shell. Pull up 2 listings side by side and compare handle shape, screen position, AC outlet placement, DC barrel port count, vent pattern, light location, and button labels. Factories do not redesign casings for every customer. If the shell matches, you are looking at the same unit wearing different clothing. Step 2 is the spec fingerprint. Exact watt hours, inverter wattage, surge rating, solar input voltage range, adapter voltage and amperage, recharge time, weight to the tenth of a kilogram, and dimensions to the millimeter. Round numbers are marketing. Precise numbers are engineering. When two brands share the same precise numbers across 6 or more fields, that is not coincidence. That is the same bill of materials. Step 3 is the paper trail. Download the manual PDF from both listings. Compare the layout, the diagram labels, the warning language, and the model numbers referenced inside. Then check the FCC ID or any ETL or UL certification number listed. Certification IDs are public. You can cross-reference them. Also check the warranty address, the support email domain, the seller account creation date, and whether replacement parts actually exist for purchase anywhere. A brand with no replacement parts and a seller account under 1 year old has no infrastructure. It has a storefront. Step 4 is the buying rule. If 3 or more fingerprints match across shell, specs, and paperwork, and the brand cannot demonstrate support that extends past the return window, the lower price is not a bargain. It is the cost of assuming the risk the seller transferred to you. The framework does not require a lab. It requires a second browser tab and 10 minutes. 12 names. A handful of factories. The same enclosure, the same circuit board, the same spec sheet with the serial numbers swapped out. That is the actual structure of this market segment, and now you can see it. The shared chassis is not the problem. Shared manufacturing is how consumer electronics have always worked. The problem is when there is nothing behind the brand except the listing. No warranty infrastructure, no parts, no accountability past the return window. That is the version that costs you. So buy the company behind the battery, not the watt-hour number in the thumbnail. Any storefront can print a number. Far fewer can answer a support ticket in month 14. If you spotted a clone pair we did not cover, drop it in the comments. Brand name, listing link, what matched. We will audit it. Subscribe if you want to see the next round, because this graveyard has more sections than one video can hold.